All right, welcome back to the Barcode Collective podcast. Got several guests on here. Had to pull out and dust off every damn microphone that I had. I got Elana,
Hi.
manager of the Space Bar, and stepped into the role of managing the Fit Bar over here in Pasadena. My right hand woman.
Hello, hello.
Oh, speak up, girl. Don't act like you're all shy and bashful.
Hi.
And then I also have Xochitl and David Renteln.
That's right. Yeah, thank you.
Fucking nailed it. I was going to get a big ass whiteboard over here and spell it all out, phonetics and all that. But yeah, no, so we were just talking before we got on here. There's a lot of like crossover, it's Instagram, social media is such a weird thing. You start seeing people and Instagram and all the algorithms throwing people in front of you, and then you start seeing like, oh, this person goes to the same gym we do, and blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of like multiple connections here. And you guys are local to Pasadena as well. So it's always weird that you feel like you kind of know people before they even know that you know them, which is, pretty uncomfortable. But here we are meeting for the first time. And one of our first conversations is being recorded, so we're just going to keep the weirdness going. Why don't you guys do me a favor and just do a quick little intro about both your guys' backgrounds. Spoiler alert, they are a couple. They're both ambitious, and that's kind of what I was drawn to wanting to have this conversation, to kind of share you guys' story. So whoever wants to go first.
Why don't you go first, Such?
No, you go first.
Oh, they're already fighting. They're already fighting. They're not perfect.
Sure. Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I guess my background, so I grew up in Pasadena. Actually, my whole life, I went to high school close by, went away for college, was really interested in biology and biochemistry. Came back here afterwards, started a PhD at Caltech in biology, and then I ended up dropping out of that program to be a co-founder of a company called Soylent. It's a plant-based meal replacement beverage. We started with a direct-to-consumer model, kind of got launched originally with a crowdfunding campaign. I was the chief marketing officer there. And then during that time, that's when Soch and I met, which we can probably talk more about a little bit later. But then I moved on. Because of Soch, I was quitting smoking. So I was kind of in sort of denial about being a smoker. I would only really smoke when I was out with friends. And so one day she said, babe, you need to quit smoking. And I said, well, I'm not really a smoker. And she said, well, you went out with friends 3 times this week and you've almost smoked half a pack of cigarettes. And so it's kind of hard to argue with that data. And so I promised her I would never smoke again. And I got really interested in the science behind nicotine and nicotine delivery. And that led me to team up with one of my former co-founders at Soylent, John Coogan, who was our CTO at Soylent, and one of my friends from graduate school, Sammy Hamdouche, who finished his PhD and ended up being head of research at Soylent. So the 3 of us peeled off to start Lucy, and our first product, one of them is right there. It's essentially an improved formulation of nicotine gum, and we've been selling that for a while,
Awesome.
Raised a little bit of money, and it's been going well. Still operating the business. Everybody's working from home, doing kind of the new normal with COVID, and yeah, it's been really awesome.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm also from Pasadena. David likes to tease me about it because I was born here. I was born at Huntington Hospital in Pasadena, but I moved to Glendale, which is a neighboring city, when I was about 8 years old. I went to UC Irvine for undergrad and studied biology, and then I always wanted to go into medicine, so I ended up going the PA route, physician assistant route, and I went to USC for the PA school. I did family medicine in Los Angeles for a little over 4 years, and then I transitioned into dermatology because I love all things skincare and skin, and I loved family medicine, but I thought it would be kind of fun to try another specialty. And then the pandemic kind of brought me, my dermatology clinics closed, and I just went automatically into like autopilot. I was like, gotta do something, gotta get involved. I can't just like sit back, while my peers are, out there on the front lines. So I quickly in a week managed to get a job in urgent care, doing telemedicine initially at first, and then doing some in-person urgent care as well. And it's actually next door.
Yeah.
So I'm working in both places, both Vestibular Dermatology, which is in Pasadena, and
Yeah, we met on a dating app,
Oh yeah.
We met on
which is fine now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little weird then, but it's fine now.
What was the app? Got to give it a plug.
It was Hinge.
Hinge.
We
Okay.
actually we wrote to them and asked them if they would help sponsor our wedding, but they said no.
No.
So we got married at the Pasadena, which is Caltech.
Yeah, we got married at
We
Caltech.
already didn't finish, so we were like, well, we got married there. Instead.
So, what was so I haven't been able to participate in dating apps. So tell me about that process for you guys. When what year? Like how long ago was that?
5 years ago, more or less now.
Yeah, it was July 2015. My friends convinced me to download these dating apps, or kind of forced me to download them.
So what's the strategy? Do you go and you get every single dating app, or do you go shoot for one?
Yeah, I had a couple. But and I communicated with a lot of people on the app, a lot of messages. Nothing too deep, but had some conversations with people. But no one really convinced me to go on a date until I talked to this guy, and he had some funny one-liners that really got me cracking up. And
You got to spit game, man. Let us know. What is it?
Well, we have a coffee table book that we got printed out of our initial conversation,
it was so
so
funny.
we should have brought it.
And I honestly was not cool. No one explained to me how to date or like do these dating apps, and I immediately just introduced myself and gave like my whole life story. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, so we were able to have a really nice conversation, and then we met up in person, and we just really hit it off. I asked what her plans were after she graduated, since she had recently graduated from PEA school, and she said, my 5-year plan. And so I thought, okay, she has multiple multi-year plans. That's interesting, and so.
Definitely like a hint of my character.
And that's always been how you've been, is like very detail-oriented planning.
Hide those things, but maybe it worked out for me. So maybe you're not supposed to hide those things. I don't know.
Well, I mean, this is how like healthy relationships move forward and they last. Is like you guys can fill each other's gaps, and you're very detail oriented, Elana. I'm not at all. So it needs to be that balance. With your businesses like Xochitl and everything, do you find yourself being detail oriented and able to plan and all that, or are you just like a
in business?
Yeah.
In business, yeah. But in my personal life, it was very much go with the flow, and I have a lot of friends out here because I grew up here, and so I had a pretty active social life, and so Soch kind of jumped in, and we just kind of went all over the place, all over LA. We traveled a lot, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
It actually was a great, you were saying that, filling each other's gaps, because I am a planner, as you could see by my comments on our first date, and he's a little bit more go with the flow when it comes to social aspects of life. So it's really great, because he likes to go on trips and not have any plans. I need to have some, but if the plans fall through, then I get pushed into that like spontaneity that I need.
And we almost didn't get together because I told her that she had mentioned marriage a bunch of times on our first few dates, and I wasn't really thinking about that, and so we almost didn't get together for that reason, because I was upfront saying it seems like you're looking for marriage in the very short term. I'm not really sure I'm there, and we decided to try anyway, and then a year after we started dating, I proposed and said, "Please marry me."
Yeah, I mean, she had a 5-year plan, so it didn't really matter what you wanted.
So he can't be surprised. I told him on the first date.
Yeah. So
when you guys met, what phase of so you were just coming out of school,
Just coming out of school, just starting a career.
and where were you with your business?
so this was a few years into Xochitl, a year or so before starting the new business.
How have things changed since you guys got together? You're in your career now. You've seen Xochitl through, and you've started another company. And have you guys' lives changed significantly? Like as far as like influencing the relationship, are you more busier? Have you guys grown into who you guys are now?
Well, I guess we travel less, but that's also probably because of the times that we're in now. We ended up moving from Silver Lake, where we lived for a few years, back to Pasadena. We got some dogs, so
House. So we've become a little more adult, and I guess a little less adventurous in some ways, but new adventures, right? Like home ownership and dog ownership.
Yeah.
And,
New stage. I mean, I mean that's like you get new hobbies. You don't always go out and hit the bars. When you get a house, now it's like gardening,
Yeah,
gardening and little home improvements.
New adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my co-founders is John is really into sleeping in his own bed. So if we have to go to San Francisco for some reason,
Yeah.
he'll fly up in the morning and he'll fly back,
wow.
before. Whereas, I might stay one night or two if I'm going to go all the way up there. But he's just the king. Even if someone has a birthday party in Las Vegas, he'll fly in just for the day, and fly right back.
What's his main reason for that? Just the importance of sleep?
He likes his routine and his sleep, and so I'm kind of in the middle, I would say.
I think that's something, though, as our relationship has progressed, something we've been really working on is like routine and habits. We definitely were, kind of all over the place, traveling a lot, but now that we're kind of, we have our house and we have these new goals, we're really like, making our routine.
Yeah, tell me a little bit of that, because I saw your Instagram story today, and you had like your morning routine. Are those all non-negotiables? Does that change every single day, or what is your morning routine, and why do you think it's so important?
I've been working on my morning routine. I feel like, although sometimes it seems so long that it's almost the evening, I'm just kidding, that it really does set me up for success. Not all of them. I do allow flexibility. They're not all, like I have to get them all done, but there's a few that I really try to get done, and they really do like set me up for a good day and for a good week. We learned how to meditate together. We took a course.
Oh yeah, TM.
Cool.
We did TM. So try to incorporate that kind of in my own way. Though I'm a little more flexible, even though you're not supposed to be flexible with TM. But I just do my 20 minutes just in the morning. And some days are shorter, but that's okay. Like, it's still gonna improve my day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What about you, David?
Yeah, I've been more consistent about having a routine, and some of that's from some of the powerlifting stuff I got into over the last few years, which, lifting at Pharos and another gym, Barbell Brigade. That's been really interesting because you have to be on a routine, otherwise you just can't progress after a certain point. And so my other co-founder, Sammy, he was very into powerlifting, and he's a smaller guy than me. He's probably 50 pounds lighter than I am. And he was lifting a lot more than I was. And so I was really frustrated. So that was a good motivation for me to get on a routine. But yeah, I think it's also part of getting older.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like it's very synonymous to life as a whole, like you can't just always be flying by the seat of your pants. There's some things that you just need to structure. And still having some flexibility for the things that are out of your control and that throw a wrench in those plans, and be able to adapt a little bit. But when I was doing a little bit more powerlifting stuff, like life was good, like you didn't have that guesswork of going into the gym and just like, oh, I got to do this. Nah, it's like these 3 big lifts and a few, ancillary movements to kind of help those 3 big lifts, and it's a very solid program, and I missed that. And I think ultimately that's kind of why I wrecked myself a little bit, just because I was just going through these 3 movements all the time, and I was being a little lazy and not doing the supplemental work that I needed to keep everything in balance. Now that you're waking up at 7 o'clock to meet me over here every morning, Elana, what are you doing in the morning? You just like give yourself a little talk in the mirror, be like, all right, Jacob's going to talk my ear off in the next 15 minutes, slam your coffee. Do you got a morning routine or afternoon routine or anything?
Not really. That's even as a detail-oriented person, I think routine is difficult for me. There's like things that I need to do every day, like get up, pour my coffee, and drink my coffee, have that moment. But I'm also not somebody who, I don't love that monotony. And I think, it's like that kind of in between of like, okay, do I do these things every day because I want to, or do I do these things every day because I have to? But recently, I feel like everyone's like, oh, Elana got into fitness, but almost as like a little slight against fitness. But I have in the past year really like thrown myself back into that world after being away from it for a while. And that, I guess, is a huge part of my routine, is making sure that even if it's just like 5 to 10 minutes of movement, really making that part of my day. And, setting out my clothes for the morning. I do come in pretty early. I don't sleep very well, so I, need to make accommodations for that. So I kind of roll out of bed. I know what I'm going to wear. I know every single thing I'm going to put on my face in the morning. I have my skincare routine there. I have my skincare routine. But one thing that I love about the stuff that you post is the Eat the Frog. That is something that I'm like, is this the eating the frog? You know, like what are those things that just doing them now is going to be like so much more, like make your day so much better, make it easier to deal with. And then you can say, oh, I did it, and then I can just enjoy the rest of my day. And so that's like something that I've been kind of like trying to figure out, what's my frog for the day?
So it's not an actual frog? I've been eating a fucking frog first thing in the morning every day.
You should see the DMs I get when I say eat the frog. People are like, do you eat frog? I'm like, no, it's the thing you like really don't want to do that day. Get it over in the morning, get it over with in the morning, and then, you know, it kind of sets you up for success. If not, you're probably going to procrastinate and not do it, and then
that's what we talk about. I mean, I use kind of that same phrase when we talk about doing cold showers. You know, like the turning of the handle is eating the frog. It's like, just fucking do it. Just do it and see how you feel afterwards. Everything else is, you know, it's all downhill from there, you know. So I really like that as well. With who's talking shit about you getting back on your fitness grind?
Well, you know, I think what's interesting about like the fitness stuff is that it's either you are all in or you're like not really taking it seriously. And I don't know if that's like a female thing or if that's kind of like across the board, but I have like, you know, that's something that I've almost like kept a secret. Like I just recently, probably in the past like maybe COVID time, started posting about being really into my workouts and enjoying them and my sweaty selfie and getting into sharing that part of my life with people. And part of it is, if I tell people that I like doing my workouts, I like the cardio, I like the weightlifting, all these different things that if I don't do it, then people are gonna be like, oh, you're not taking it seriously or whatever it is. So I think it's this very weird balance of you're either all in or you're all out, and then, you know, it allows people room for judgment that, like, frankly, I'm not really on board with. So, you know, why share that part of my life with people if they're not just gonna be like, oh, like, that's her day. And maybe someday she doesn't do it. And maybe someday she does it 3 times. And, like, you know, those kinds of things. I think it's very difficult as someone who grew up very, very petite, very active, and then struggled with whether you want to call it straight on eating disorder like behaviors, that kind of stuff, and then went through a treatment process and came out the other side and then gained a bunch of weight. It's a very fine line for me personally, and then also it's like looking back on it, there's a lot of self-judgment associated with it as well. Like, why did I wait so long? Why did I let it get this bad? And just, you know, owning where you are in the process is I think can be very difficult.
Yeah, no, for sure. And and it's like we need to change that narrative around all this stuff. I mean, you know, it's because working out isn't necessarily fun, especially when people find themselves, you know, obese or overweight. And it's like, this is where we are with COVID and why, you know, it's wreaked havoc on our country. All, you know, is that people just are unhealthy, you know.
We're not focusing on prevention.
Right, and there's been no conversation around it at all, you know, very, very little conversation. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're seeing a lot more of it. You know, you hear.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the whole like COVID conversation about, you know, what to do about the situation we're in?
I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about here. So I totally can relate to you on many levels with the whole judgment thing. It's like, what is that saying? You're darned if you do, or you're darned if you don't.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like I kind of feel that way now that I'm kind of a little bit more on a public platform. Like, if I don't post the day I don't want to post about my workout, or people think I'm not working out, is that, you know? And then there's like, you know, habits and like your identity like involved. There's that whole thing. So I feel you on that, and it's hard. I think appreciating the process is important, as you said, and just trying to not worry about that judgment, even though it's it's always going to pop up, but you kind of have to fight it. On the COVID thing, I think that's something that really isn't. Everyone's talking about COVID right now, right? It's everywhere. But on the prevention side of things, we're not really talking about that or dealing with that. And that, especially with this virus, comorbidities or, other health problems are what's making it more complicated most of the time. So why aren't we dealing with that side of things?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. What do you have to say about it?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, it would be great if everybody were in better shape. I think it's a combination of exercise
just
question
exercise,
and
it's
the nutrition component,
Yeah.
and just how much disagreement there is around nutrition in general, whether people are vegan or only eat
Carnivore.
organic. Yeah, there's even the carnivore people now. And a lot of things we just don't know because you're not going to run a controlled study where you actually watch what goes into someone's mouth 24 hours a day for years and years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, on the fitness side, what kind of keeps me motivated, I guess, is I get interested in something for a while and I try to, reach a goal, and then I feel like I can focus on something else. So I used to be into running, and now I'm more into lifting, and I feel like, especially, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but with like lifting, for instance, now if I took some time off and went back to the gym, in my mind, I can still lift the best lift that I ever had. And I feel like that helps me get there faster because, I'm like, oh, I've been there before. I should be able to do it again.
Yeah.
So I think there's just like a mental level that at least helps me. And I don't know. That's why I'm excited to do this cold plunge, because I'm going to set a personal record for the coldest water that I've been in for the longest period of time.
Even if it is 12 seconds.
I was going to say I'm a little scared, so I don't know how long it's going to be, but probably anything above 10 seconds will be a personal record for me, so that's good.
Yeah, no, people, I mean, speaking of the ice bath, like a lot of people come in and they ask, how long do I stay in there? And there are, obviously some physical benefits of being in the ice, but, as we talked about, like the mental aspect of it is so crucial, and that's the first thing to overcome. So like I never want to put people in a corner and be like, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, because depending on how our day went and how stressed we are, and sometimes we don't even know that we're stressed. That's just hiding below the surface. And you get in the ice, you get in that fight or flight mode, and you literally cannot soothe yourself. Like you can't self-regulate at all. So you're hyperventilating and you jump right out of it. So it's a test of mental fortitude and shows kind of your ability to kind of soothe yourself. And I love that conversation of the ice. And that, because when you get in, your breath kind of tends to take over. I mean, if you do meditation, you can kind of go inward, and like that's the whole thing. You need to be able to go inward and calm yourself. So it's like tapping into that same, just knowing that in order to get out of it, it's not out here. The temperature is not going to change at all. So, you can't will that. It's all about what's happening in your head and just going inward and focusing on that a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like all the keys to happiness that we keep hearing are just elaborate ways to torture yourself. Like you got to watch, you can't eat your favorite stuff.
Yeah.
You got to go until you're out of breath in the gym. You got to drown yourself in cold water. Is it just because it feels great when you don't have to do that stuff anymore?
I think so.
You accomplish it and challenge yourself, just doing the same old, and not pushing yourself.
And because when we're now, we find ourselves complaining about ordering the sweet greens and getting the plate and not the salad. Now I'm mad because the plate looks less voluminous as the salad, and you start complaining about shit that is like already a luxury. You know what I mean? And it's like that's why we got to do the tough stuff.
Yeah. Definitely puts things in perspective.
I did want to circle back about the nicotine gum a little bit.
Sure.
And just maybe highlight, because so is it specifically for people trying to get off cigarettes and smoking? Because nicotine in and of itself isn't inherently bad, right? It's a nootropic. We hear about nootropics all the time now, and some of the benefits of it. So is there like a dosage or recommendation for somebody who just might be wanting to use it as a little bit of a stimulant? Or what's all the nicotine conversation about?
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. So I certainly agree. Yeah, with most of that. Like, I was very interested when I was researching nicotine that there's kind of this, to the extent that there can ever really be one, like a scientific consensus that nicotine is not particularly harmful at all. It's addictive, but not harmful. And there's all sorts of things in cigarettes, or the design of the cigarette that makes it more addictive than even other forms of nicotine typically. So you're inhaling it. When you inhale nicotine, it goes into your body faster than if you even inject it. And then there's other chemicals in tobacco smoke that, like MAOIs, that increase the addictive potential of cigarettes and of the nicotine itself. And part of what also helped me stop smoking was the idea that I could still enjoy nicotine. I just couldn't smoke anymore. And so that's kind of what motivated me. And we realized that a lot of people didn't really know this. Most people, just because of the way that everybody's been taught cigarettes are bad and cigarettes and nicotine have been synonymous up until maybe 5-10 years ago. And so there isn't a lot of consumer education around what nicotine is or how it should be regulated, and that's changing now. The regulations are changing, and the former FDA commissioner went on record many times saying, there's a continuum of risk when you use nicotine with combustible tobacco at one end and things like pure nicotine products at the other. So and nicotine's in some clinical trials right now for improving late stage dementia, for Alzheimer's, potentially as a prophylactic against Parkinson's.
Wow.
No, I'm not trying to make any claims regarding my product. I'm just talking about the science behind nicotine in the abstract. But yeah, I mean, there's also evidence that it functions right as a stimulant. People use it as a nootropic. So it's kind of a very interesting, misunderstood chemical.
So when you, like, if somebody wanted to, say, supplement with it, what would be is there any recommendations that you've come across, or dosage or timing or any stacking that shit with lion's mane or anything else?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that blog about their different nootropic stacks. I would say with any chemical, you probably want to use as little as possible to get the effect that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And if you're using something that's addictive, you don't want to use it all the time, because then you're putting yourself at risk of you gaining some sort of dependency on it. So it's really personal, but if you kind of have that in mind, I mean, most of our customers come from using other tobacco products. We have many customers who used to vape or chew. The bulk of our customers used to smoke cigarettes, because most people who use nicotine have used cigarettes or use cigarettes. But yeah, we do have some sort of biohackers who use it as a nootropic. It just kind of depends.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always interested in stuff like that, just kind of, whether it's like, so a couple of years ago I stopped drinking, like the things that are socially acceptable, cigarettes, drinking, whatever it is, that's just what we always gravitate towards. So we end up having these stories tied up with these substances, and and we end up ultimately having bad relationships with them, and they end up being kind of controlling us rather than us making the conscious decision to partake in any of that. So, before any issues arose from drinking, I made a conscious decision to stop, and largely so I could pursue other things that might be more beneficial. Like, not smoking weed to excess, but just like, okay, let's tap a little edible here and there for a little creative juices, to smile, to have fun without the risk of me doing something super shady or dangerous like I would, when being drunk. And then, whether it's psilocybin or mushrooms or any of the medicinal mushrooms that we use, like at the Fit Bar, like lion's mane and cordyceps, or nicotine, you started reading about these things. So I'm just always very interested in like what we can use and bringing awareness to it, how we can use this to enhance our life and maybe go deeper on, who we are, some of the challenges that we're facing, rather than sedating ourselves, I guess, yeah, we'll keep this fairly short because I want you guys to get in that sauna and the ice. But just one more kind of question, I guess, in relating to like the social media stuff. Are you even on social media at all?
I am, but I don't, have like a public presence. That's all through Soch.
So, and then, you do, and you mentioned kind of identity and getting caught up in that, and, like thinking about sometimes, having to post something when you're not really feeling like it. Well, how does that whole dynamic work within your guys' relationship? And
Yeah, so my Instagram account kind of started very organically. I actually started in PA school as like an accountability tool, because I figured in PA school we sat on our butts all day. And I said, well, the only way that I'm going to kind of keep up my workouts and my nutrition is, if I could kind of have this tool. So I only had a few friends on it, and I was basically posting my food for the day, posting different workouts. I did a lot of yoga events, poses, things I was working on. And then next thing I know, I started kind of getting people that weren't my friends, and people were asking me questions. And then, then I graduated PA school, and I kind of had this interesting perspective, from a more medical standpoint. And next thing I know, I kind of just started building momentum. And there are, I talk every once in a while, I'll complain about it, because there are some negative aspects, like the need to post things, to not live in the moment, to not be present. But I think the positives have completely outweighed, the cons. I've met, had so many like new relationships. I really feel like it makes me part of a community, like a smaller community of like my actual city or different interests that I'm in, but also like a bigger community. It's given me so many opportunities, and so in that way, I'm really happy that I did it. But yes, there are some cons, but you have to kind of accept them.
do you make David take all the photos? Or
Yeah.
I was going to say
You're
that's
the
one of the
Instagram
cons
boyfriend?
for me.
You're getting really good at it.
Have like professional photographers and stuff, so he doesn't have to do that. Yeah, and there's definitely a sense of privacy I want to maintain, but it's funny. Some of the posts that I'm hesitant to share that kind of make me more vulnerable are the ones that kind of get the best reception. Not the best reception in terms of like likes, but people reach out to me like, wow, that really helped me out, and
Yeah.
whatever. Or telling people to eat the frog, like I'm glad that helped you out. Like a lot of people will tell me how it's helped them out, but a lot of people don't. But I'll figure it out later. And that to me, my goal in life is to help people live healthier, like happier lives, and that was part of the reason why I went into medicine. And if I can do that in kind of some different, more creative ways as well, and in my off time, well then so be it.
Yeah. And she's also just, I think, mentally geared to do it very well. Everybody says that her latency in terms of receiving a text is like sub 1 minute. You can text her anytime. She'll text you back like in her sleep.
Yeah.
It's really nice. She's very accessible. And it works really well for social media because she can interact with people very easily.
That's awesome. When I was explaining a little bit about like what the Barcode Collective represents, so largely the podcast is for our Fit Bar customers and our Space Bar customers. But we're always seeing people, whether it's on social media or just leaders, and we assume that they have it all figured out, that they're living the lifestyle that we all want to aspire to, right? So I was telling you that the Barcode kind of represents 4 different pillars, and that's your mind, body, relationships, and business. We've talked about several different topics, but the main thing to remember is that at any given time, like there's one that's always hurting a little bit. COVID probably really shined the light on some areas of opportunity for a lot of people. So for each one of you, what area do you think is either suffering the most? So mind kind of being your mindset, maybe your meditation or your self-talk or your mental health, body being your workouts, your nutrition, relationships, obviously your relationships, whether it's together or with your family and friends, and then business obviously is your business. So which area do you guys think is plugging away amazingly, and which area needs a little TLC?
I think there's a little bit. There's a lot of things there. I will say initially, the body for me took a step down but it also made me realize that I do better in a group environment. So I thrive off that energy in the studio, in the gym, at the spin class, and Ferris at the working out in the class. So it wasn't, it's making it a little more challenging for me to get my workouts in, and maybe I'm not doing as much as I used to, but it also taught me that I thrive off that, so I'm looking forward to getting back there. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of the relationship, I wouldn't say it's a negative, but being with one person for a lot, like long
Locked
periods
up,
of time.
yeah.
Brought out some like interesting things that we hadn't explored before. But I think in a way it was also see, I always see I'm I'm an optimist, so
I'm with
I
you
see
on
the
that.
positives. So I think it gave us an opportunity to, as you had mentioned, opportunity to to work on that more and to kind of discuss things that we hadn't really talked about, because we did have our own lives outside of like being with each other all the time. I don't know. That's my perspective on that.
Yeah,
What
no,
about
for
you?
sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. Greatest strength is your greatest weakness at the same time. So for me, I was a big in-person person. I liked socializing. I liked being in a room with people, and so you can't really do that very often anymore. You can't go out and hang out with your friends as much as you used to. But because that was my preference and I liked to be so social, I didn't spend a lot of time by myself just thinking my own thoughts. And so this time has given me some time to reflect and do that. For the most part, I'm happy, with the choices that I've made. So it was nice to check in and get that. But it made me think about, what I want for the future. And I don't think our relationship has been strained. So this is news to me.
Oh, shit.
But we're going to go out to dinner afterwards. So I think I'll be able to repair it, hopefully. Or maybe the bonding experience in the sun.
That's funny.
We're going to bond over the ice bath.
Yeah, you're gonna have to help me, and I'll help you.
Okay, deal.
Perfect.
That's so funny that you guys said that. My boyfriend's at Caltech doing his PhD, and so his time in the lab definitely outweighs the time that we spend together. And then all of a sudden, and then I've been here, helping get everything situated with Spacebar as it was opening, but all of a sudden we're like thrown together, and we've been together for almost 10 years at this point, so it's not like we don't know each other or anything, but all of a sudden you're like faced with, oh my God, I actually live with somebody. And like really trying to figure out how to interact with somebody on that same level, but just in a much like higher level of exposure. And those things that you thought were actually really annoying, they're like calming to a certain extent. All of a sudden it's not as annoying to like have dishes left out. You're like, oh, that's nice, like he's actually here now. And we have a dog too, and it was like really sweet watching him interact with the dog, especially at the beginning, like checking in with Winston, be like, hey Winston, how's it going, and like really concerned about his well-being and everything. So I think that's one thing that has grown out of COVID, is like people really being forced to kind of like not only look inward, but look at the like little proximity that they do have to people, and kind of analyze what goes into relationships. Is it actually having to be in the same room with somebody, or is it just being able to like Zoom over, we did a Zoom Easter, and like that was actually really nice, because I probably wouldn't see my aunt and my uncle normally on Easter, and now I was able to. So it certainly changes your perspective. It hasn't been great. Everything's not always great, but I think you can find your silver linings on, most things.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And dogs are obviously the MVPs of COVID, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We're all dog owners here. Yeah. So
they got more time. Like they also made us feel good.
Right.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, because ever since like day one, like maybe there's a week that because when we shut this this location down for like a week first, and I was home all the time. But like I've been here, I'm almost away all the time, and it's like every single time I leave, I see this little French bulldog face, and I'm just like so fucking sad, like, and mainly because like anything else, we attach these things to more, right? So it's like I'm seeing this little guy that I'm walking away from, and like all of this that I've ever tried to create was for the intention of being able to create a business that I would be able to stay home, like be with my kids and teach them or coach their baseball team or whatever. And it's like where we are now with COVID, like I will definitely come out personally as a stronger person, but life might look a lot different. None of these businesses might even be here, right? Like so much might be different after all this, and it's just like it's so crazy how far, like I personally feel, from that initial goal of like being, financially set and being able to do that when we have kids, and it's like I can't even fucking be home with my dog right now. And it's just like, man, it's crazy. But again, I'm very optimistic about all this stuff. And sometimes when almost all 4 of those pillars feel like they're completely drained, what you get to kind of reflect upon is that you're okay. Like I just got to get more comfortable with who I am and what I am without any of the things that I have created at this point, because none of that stuff really is who I am. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that's what my 4 pillars are right now. They're all feeling like they need to be filled up a little bit. They're all going to get filled up here. So let's leave that on a depressing ass note. No, I really appreciate you guys coming through. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll cut the camera while you guys get into the ice bath, just in case there's tears and there's something that you don't want to see out there. But if people don't know where to follow you guys, why don't you guys let them know where they can find either information about your businesses, find you on Instagram?
Yeah. Lucy can be found at lucy.co.
That's easy.
Boom.
Yeah.
And my Instagram handle is so healthy, but it starts with an X because my name starts with an X. So it's XO.healthy. Pretty easy on Instagram.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to do a plug for Facile,
Oh, yeah?
even though I haven't been there.
Yeah. Gotta get you in there.
Yeah. Facile, they have 2 locations, but they are local to Pasadena as well.
Yeah.
So all your
Come see
skincare
me
needs.
there.
I think my girlfriend had a consultation with you that.
This is like such a small
It's on Wednesday, I think.
Well, it was on Wednesday, but I'm actually gonna make her cancel because I built out a van, like a little RV van, and we tried to do a little getaway to go visit her mom up in like the Bay Area, and of course, the one day I try to get away, I come back and it's a new van. The transmission goes out like in the middle of nowhere, so it's been stuck up in San Jose for 45 days. So I go pick it up on Monday, and I'm like,
you gotta go.
so I said, babe, let's just parlay this into like a 5-day little road trip. So she might be texting y'all and trying to cancel that.
Well, so there's an open appointment then that's coming up on Wednesday.
You fill it in.
Yeah. Well, I go. It's not just for the ladies. I probably wouldn't have had I not learned about it from Xoch, but yeah.
All right, well, I'm next because I'm aging. I'm getting patches of gray hair coming in. I'm aging right now. I've always been able to pull off a lot younger than I actually am, but now people are calling me out. But until next time, let's wrap this up. You guys can find us at barcode_collective on Instagram. Reach out to us at spacebarwellness.com, fitbarcafe.com, and that's a wrap. See you guys later.
Thanks.